Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. We're going to do this video a little bit differently. We're actually going to narrate this video. Normally we typically do an ASMR style, demonstrate the building of something, then give a post-video wrap-up. But we're going to go ahead and keep, just narrate this video through the whole way. So, this video is about building an improvised torch. This came about because the other day I was trying to go out to my shed. It was about midnight. It was pretty dark out. There's no street lights that illuminate my backyard or anything like that. So I was searching through junk drawers. I found a couple flashlights that, of course, were dead because I needed them to work. Fortunately, just being the type of person I am, I have hundreds of flashlights laying around, and so I found one that worked, and that's great. But our channel is based on the premise of building stuff in an apocalypse, where you may not have flashlights, you may not be able to scavenge flashlights or even batteries, because those are number one on everybody's survival list. So if there is a working flashlight to be found in the garage of an abandoned house somewhere out there during a crisis, it's likely already been taken, because that's one of the first things on everybody's checklist. So this isn't really this isn't going to be your, here's a better option than a flashlight, you should run out and do this. This is when you can't find those things, how could you make them with stuff that you might find laying around? So, being an 80s child, I watched lots of Indiana Jones type movies, things like that, and you always find that when they go into a cave that they find in the side of a mysterious mountain, there's always some sort of torch sitting on the wall or laying on the ground, and they light it and it burns for hours, and they walk through the cave and it lights everything up. Well, that's kind of Hollywood fiction, but it did make me think, what could we make out of stuff we find around the house that could duplicate that and produce a torch, which has a couple benefits. One, if you have to wander around the dark in a survival situation or a crisis or an apocalypse, you get the benefit of it does provide light. It's not going to be an 1800 lumen flashlight, but it does provide light. If you run into any type of wild animals in the dark, even elephants are afraid of fire. So, you have that added benefit. It keeps animals, it makes animals want to stay away. Defensively, nobody that's trying to attack you wants to get burned. So, there could be a bunch of benefits to it. The point is that this is just a really simple build to make a torch, and that's really all there is to it. So, I went looking around the house, and I found a couple things that I decided I could use to put together. First one is an empty soup can. This one here, we're going to use this because it is a steel can. You could probably use a pop can, but they are aluminum, and I have done videos in the past where even though aluminum has a pretty decently high melting point, simply burning fabric such as cotton, I was able to actually melt an aluminum rod that I was hanging them on by accident. So steel is definitely the better way to go. Soup cans, empty soup cans, you're going to find this type of stuff everywhere in an apocalypse, every house you go into, anything like that, because most people don't have a use for them once they're open. If you're a hardcore survivalist, you could probably think of a dozen uses for a soup can, but in this case, we're going to turn one into a torch. So the first thing we're going to want to do is punch a little tiny hole in the bottom of this, and soup cans are pretty thin, so you really don't need much to do that. We're just going to use a nail and a hammer. Try to get it as centered as you possibly can. That way it'll sit on your handle perfect. So there you go, simple hole. Attaching it to a wood handle is going to be your best base, because most of your fuels, unless they're in direct contact with the wood, are not going to produce enough heat to flash ignite the wood. And the wood is a good insulator, so if you're holding the bottom part of the handle, you don't have to worry about the heating up of the wood seeping down to the part that you're trying to hold. So we got just a little sheet metal screw. I like this design because the bottom of the screw is flat, and so it will push perfectly flat and even with the bottom of your can. The other reason Other thing that we use is, you might have seen these in a previous video that we did. These are fender washers. These are 2-inch washers. We use these to make improvised road stars. I'm going to put this on the bottom of the can on the outside, in between our wood handle and our soup can. That way it just provides a little bit of a little bit more of a thicker, sturdier base for the soup can, so it doesn't fall off or get knocked off as easily. So we're just going to screw that into a handle. Coming around my garage, I came across some old 3/4 inch square dowels that I had used for some stuff, so I just cut one down to about 1.5 feet length. That gives you plenty of handle space and the ability to keep the flame a good distance away from you, so that you don't run the risk of burning yourself. So we're going to put this sheet metal screw through the bottom, and once it's through the bottom, it'll tighten up snug because the hole that we nailed in there is not as big as the screw itself. So we'll take our handle, and you can pre-drill a hole. This is a pretty small sheet screw, so odds are that you won't need to, and you may not be able to, depending on your situation. If you don't have a power drill or anything like that available to you. Now, if you're sheltering in place, you might have something like that in your own garage, but the odds of finding a functioning power tool in an apocalyptic or crisis type of situation are not going to be super high. So you're just going to want to screw this thing into the base of the wood. The screw is small enough that it shouldn't split your wood, but your basic goal is just to attach it to the end of this. It fits on there really nice and snug. Your washer provides a good solid base to so that your can doesn't flop back and forth on you, which is going to be good because every torch you're going to add a fuel source to, and liquids are heavy, and so you want it to be as secure and stable as possible. This one definitely meets that thing. So next, we found laying in our closet, no surprise, a terry cloth hand towel. Couple things to note about this: whatever material that you want to put inside your can to be your sponge for your fuels, you want to make sure that it is a natural material. So in this case, this is 100% cotton. You definitely want cotton. You don't want to use a microfiber towel. You don't want to use any type of blended material, because polyesters and all of those type of things, they melt. Even if they don't have high heat applied to them or a direct flame, they will melt from the heat of your fuel source and create some pretty toxic smoke on top of basically melting into plastic. Nylon, spandex, those type of fabrics, they're going to melt into a plastic. Cotton is unique because it can stand high temperatures, and even as your fuel starts to burn off and you burn the edges of your cotton, it will turn black, but it will still continue to burn as long as it's got fuel in the cotton. So same thing as a candle wick. It's the same reason why your candle wick turns black, but it doesn't burn away as long as it's got wax to absorb into it. So we took a terry cloth towel, we folded it multiple ways so that it matches just slightly longer than our can, and I'll show you why in a second. So just roll that up, make it a nice tight roll, because you don't want a lot of space, because you don't want it falling out on you. Just basic can roll. Insert it into the end of your soup can and push it all the way to the base. The reason that we folded it so that it is longer than our can is this is the part that's going to burn. And the more of it you have exposed, just like an oil lamp, the longer you make the wick, the bigger the flame you're going to get out of the burn. And so this will give you a pretty sizable flame off the end of your torch. Outside of that, it's pretty much done. The only thing you need now is to have some sort of fuel source. So I did that as well. I scouted around the house to look for a couple different things, and I actually found 3 things. One of them, I found a half-empty bottle of lamp oil. this is pretty self-explanatory. It's meant for burning in lamps, torches, that type of thing. This fuel, the only reason we are not going to choose this fuel is because in a scavenge situation, this one is much less likely for you to find laying around a house or a garage. So we're going to set that one aside. But I did find two other things. One, in our medicine cabinet, I had a bottle of isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is very good. It's not a hydrocarbon-based fuel. At least I don't think so. At least not in the manner that the petrol-based fuel is going to be, or a naphtha-based, like a lighter fluid or charcoal fluid, which will both work in this situation. But you'll find this in a lot of medicine cabinets. This one is a 91%, so it has a significant amount of alcohol. This will burn at roughly 700 degrees, so it will do a fantastic job of providing heat, providing light. It's hot enough to use it as a defense item, but what's neat about this one is alcohol does not produce a lot of smoke and a lot of residue when it burns. Now, it does have a pretty strong odor to it, so that's one thing to be aware of, especially when you're burning it. But it burns very clean, it burns very hot, and it's fairly controllable. It's not going to be difficult to put out. If a drip of it comes off of the end of your torch and lands on something, you can easily put it out by snuffing it out, versus things like gasoline and other types of petrol-based fuels are much harder to put out and much more sporadic in the way that they burn. But we're actually going to set this aside because we are a garage apocalypse channel, so I found another fuel source I want to use. Now, it is the same. It is isopropyl alcohol. It is rubbing-based alcohol, but it's something you're more likely to find in an abandoned garage in a vacant neighborhood during an apocalypse or a crisis. This is a compound called isoheat. It's a gasoline additive for automotive vehicles and trucks. It's designed for pulling moisture out of your fuel system. This is also isopropyl based, just like your rubbing alcohol, but this is a 98.75% pure rubbing alcohol, so it's an even higher percentage. Now, what's that mean? It means it's going to burn hot and it's going to burn fast. So this fuel probably will not last you as long as a 70% or a 91% rubbing alcohol antiseptic type mix, because the other percentage in this that's not alcohol is water. So it slows your burn down. It also doesn't evaporate as quick. This will evaporate quickly. So if you don't have a way when you're done with your torch to cap it off so that it doesn't evaporate the fuel source, your torch can likely dry out. We found the best way: let it cool down, put a Ziploc bag and a rubber band over the top, and it's ready to use whenever you want. So we're actually going to make two of these torches. We're going to do one with just the basic 91 alcohol and one with the isoheat, and see if there's any real difference between the flames. I'm not guessing that 8% extra alcohol is going to make a significant difference in the flame size or the quality of the burn on the torch, but those are the two fuel sources we're going to go with. We're not going to go with the lamp oil, but it will work. It will absolutely work, and you can count on it all the time. It's fairly easy to light. Some other fuel sources, you could actually make a torch out of cooking oil if you wanted to, just your simple vegetable oil. Do note, though, that that will take a little bit longer to light. It's not going to flash ignite as easily as lamp oil or rubbing alcohol or gasoline or charcoal lighter or any other fuel source you add to your torch. So there's that. We're going to take both these torches. It's middle of the day right now, so we're going to wait until this evening when it's dark out back, and we're going to go ahead and light and burn both these torches during the night and kind of see the effects of them. that's really about it. So stick around for the demonstration. We're going to put a link to our website down in the bottom of this. Normally what we do is we put instructions on how we build things out there, but we narrated this one because it's very simplistic. There's not a whole lot of in between the line stuff to explain. So we're going to go ahead and just post a link to the website in general, where we have instructions for a lot of really cool other items that we can make in an apocalypse situation, and things that are related to other videos that we put out. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Stick with us, because we're going to be doing stuff like this all the time, and just designing survival items out of everyday stuff. Not stuff that you can buy, not stuff that's going to be super fancy and designated for that purpose, just things that you can make out of stuff that you scavenge, steal, or find in an emergency situation. So, we appreciate you hanging out with us today. Stick around for the quick demo, and we'll catch you later. Alright guys, it's a couple hours later. As you can see, it's pretty dark out. We're going to test these. We used two of the different fuels that we spoke about earlier. We used the ISO heat, and we used the medical grade rubbing alcohol, the 91%. So let's see how they work. Video is obviously not well lit. It's not supposed to be, but let's give this a try. So this one here, this is your ISO heat. So, you know, it's pretty good at producing a decent amount of light. Burns hot. You can hear it sizzling a little bit probably in the video, but that's just the chemicals that we're using as a fuel source. But as you can see, it does pretty well. You can wave it. Not going to go out easy on you. ISO heat has one disadvantage though. It is notoriously difficult to put out compared to the regular medical grade rubbing alcohol. So this one here, this is just your standard isopropyl 91%. It's a little quieter, not quite as intense. Being 91% means that the other portion of it is water, so it doesn't burn quite as hot, not quite as bright. Still pretty difficult to put out. You can wave it around and it keeps on going. We're not going to do a longevity test. I don't want to sit here and burn them and see how long they go, but both fuel sources work great. Produce a ton of light. Definitely scare off predators if you needed to, but there you go. Alright guys, we'll catch you on the next one.